Hello everyone, good to be here again. In my last video I said I wasn't a YouTuber, but it appears that when you start creating content, you just continue. Good to be here. In the last video I asked people if they would want me to make a video around personal statements and the likes, and I got a lot of feedback in that regard, people requesting for a video on personal statements. And at this point, the PTDF scholarship portal still hasn't been open. So I decided to make this video a general guide to personal statements. I would still be addressing the PTDF statement requirements specifically in this same video. So I'm going to break it into 3 major sections, and there will be the PTDF scholarship requirement, my general approach to writing personal statements, and then I'll show you my personal statement and just talk you through how in some shape or form I applied the principles I'll be sharing with you. Just a disclaimer, of course, I cannot address every single personal statement format that there is, but the thing is, if you can understand the basic principles, the general underlying principles that inform writing or crafting a personal statement, then you can apply these principles in any other one that you're working on. Think of it like a math problem. So you know how in class they'll teach you one thing, teach you the fundamental principles, then your lecturer can tweak it a bit in the exams, but because you understood the general principles, then you are able to apply those to any other problem and still get those problems solved. So it's the same idea. Alright, so to the PTDF personal statement requirements, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to read to you exactly what they ask for, and then we'll unpack it bit by bit. So the PTDF personal statement requires that you provide a statement of purpose, maximum of 500 words, stating the reason or reasons for the proposed study, its relevance to the industry, and its expected impact on national development. A statement of purpose, not more than 500 words. So that means that there's no room for shalai. Like, you have to be pam. What is that? You have to give like clear-cut things. People should be able to read it and quickly know what you are driving at when you're talking about what you're saying. 500 words. There's no room for shalai. You have to hit the nail on the head as you're speaking. Of course, there are other essays you may be dealing with that might require maybe longer, like have a longer length, but please, just if it's the PTDF scholarship, then pam. You have to be sharp, clear, and focused. And breaking that down, you see that they're looking for 3 key things: your reasons for the proposed study, its relevance to the oil and gas industry, its expected impact on national development. These 3 things are what they are looking out for. So even if no matter what you write, if what you write doesn't cut across these 3 things, then you've missed the essence of writing it. It's like a comprehension, it's evidence of a comprehension problem, and they don't want that. I mean, you want to prove that you comprehend. They're about to send you to study, right? So you have to prove that you can comprehend, and that shows in how you write your personal statement. So that you address these 3 things. So every single paragraph you have should directly address these things. I think a wise approach to it generally would be to take it a paragraph at a time, and each paragraph is cutting across these things. And as I move to the next section and tell you about my general approach to personal statements, I would tell you more about how to formulate and work around it. My general guide to personal statements. The thing is, with personal statements, A basic thing I carry in mind when I'm working on them is that I want to tell a story. I wasn't always like this. So before I just used to list all my achievements like it was a CV. Like I'll just put it there. Okay, hey, this is what I've done. This is who I am. I got this award, best in my class. This one, that. I'll just list it, and that will be the statement. But that's not a statement. That's not a statement. Your CV already does that job. If they just wanted to know your achievement, then they would have just asked for your CV. But a personal statement gives you the opportunity to tell your story. Let them in on your why. Why do you want to do this thing? Why does this matter to you? Where's your head that you get to show your own perspective of things? You let them in on your why. You share your journey with them. So that general perspective of telling a story should come to mind whenever you're working on a personal statement, whatever personal statement it is. Because it's not just listing your achievements. Of course, you're going to list your achievements, as you tell your story, because of course you have to weave those in to what you're doing. But don't just think you have to list every single achievement you had to show that that's why you want to study. They're trying to understand why you want to do this thing and how it impacts, right? So generally, just always think storytelling. When you tell your story, they don't just see your achievements. They see your heart. They see your why. They see your journey. They see the way you think. And that makes you stand out in a different way. So please, as much as possible, tell a story whenever you're working on a personal statement. And a great technique that people employ when it comes to storytelling is the STAR technique. I'm sure lots of you may or may not have come across it. If you have, great. If you haven't, awesome. The STAR technique. And my friend adds an extra element, which is L. So it's STARL. And I'm going to list what those mean. So the STAR technique, we have situation, task, action, result, and then the L that my friend adds is learning outcomes. With these, you are painting a picture. So even if I wasn't there when whatever you did was done, because you've generated that lovely story and taking me through the situation, the task, the action, and the result, then tell me your learning outcomes. I can picture myself in that place and draw inspiration from what you're doing and seeing. So that's just something to bear in mind. Okay, so let's break down this STAR technique even further. First is S, situation. Situation describes what was going on. You're setting the scene. You are bringing it. It's like a movie. So before the action man goes and starts fighting people, they would let you see what was going on first. Oh, this woman was selling akara by the road. This was happening there. The sun was not shining as it was supposed to. Of course, that's for a movie, so all that drama can be there. But for your case, which is a personal statement, it's a bit different. So, for example, during my final year of my undergraduate studies, my department was faced with the challenge of the students not understanding how to use a key tool, a key software that we're supposed to use for a project we're working on. So we understand what is going on. Oh, you guys were in final year, you were working with a particular software, but no one understood how to use it. So we've put ourselves in that story. You've found a way to immerse us in that story. Like we were there. We can relate to what you're saying. All right. So that's the first part. That situation. You're painting a picture. You're setting the scene. People are able to see what you're talking about. Boom. We're in the story. We know what is going on. We can imagine it. and be there with you. Task describes what you were supposed to do, what task was assigned to you. You are describing what was going on. Sometimes you may merge situation and task together, but in the end, it just helps to spell them out so that people can see. So what the task does is that it helps the reader understand what your mission was. What your mission was to deal with that challenge you were going through, what you were trying to achieve. And so when you say something like, oh, as the class rep, I had the responsibility of organizing a practical session to ensure that the students got to learn how to use the tool better ahead of our upcoming exams. Do you understand? Are you seeing that description? So we've described that it was final year. There was a tool that people didn't understand we were supposed to how to use. And then you come to the next part, which is the task. So because I was class rep, this was the responsibility I had to come up with a practical session for the students to understand how to use that tool. The next part is action. So with the action, you're describing the exact things you then did that led to a result. This is the meat of the story. This is the key thing you're trying to do, where you're trying to sell yourself, right? To show that you are someone that can take initiative, do planning, and organize and solve that problem. That's what you're trying to do. And so for that part, for example, you can then say, I reached out to an industry expert who I had met at a seminar and asked him to volunteer a few hours for a webinar to train us on this particular software. And we set the date and put out invitations for it. So you've described the actions. Oh, you were proactive. You were able to network enough to have an industry expert you could bring on board. Then you even spoke with him and you were able to communicate your pain enough to him for him to say, okay, I will come through for you. And then it actually happened, right? In the result, you're describing the major outcome. What happened as a result of this thing that you did? And there you're describing, oh, the students were so grateful, and we saw that all of the students in our class were able to do this. It will also be good to leverage numbers or percentages where you can, just being able to quantify the extent of your success. And maybe you can say something like, essentially, because we had an assessment coming up, we saw that over 90% of the class passed the practical assessment that involved the use of that software as a result of that training. And also many people came back to me and were so grateful that I took it upon myself to organize this particular event for the class, because that was the only way they were going to pass that exam. Do you understand? So you have told a compelling story. People can see why your heart is in the place that it's at and everything, and what you did. What about the learning outcomes? For the learning outcomes, you're trying to show that you're someone that is mature, that reflects on situations, that thinks through and tries to bring out major outcomes or learn from things that they do. Example of a learning outcome you can give there is, I learned that leadership is not just about always having the answers, but about being resourceful and knowing where to find solutions. That's powerful. That just gives you like a good idea and a good technique. So that's just an example of leveraging the STARL technique. And I think if you implement this in anything going forward, it would significantly change your life. So whether you're answering a question around leadership, problem solving, a volunteer role you occupied, anything of this sort, it is always a good idea to structure your answers using this technique, right? Because it just helps to paint a good picture, and and the readers are immersed in what you're doing and are better for it because they can see what you're doing and really appreciate the work that you put into that particular thing that you do. Okay, so leverage it, leverage it, leverage it. Of course, how much detail you would include in anything will depend on the exact prompt given by the body you're applying to. So make sure to be intentional to understand what they're looking for before you start jumping into stuff. The next part of the video, I'm going to be taking you through my personal statement that I submitted to PTDF, and I'll just be highlighting how I leverage the STAR technique. Of course, because of how the PTDF statement is and the exact requirements of the statement, there's only so much of the STAR technique that could be implemented in it, but at the same time, there were still elements of it that spoke forth in how I crafted that statement, and I'll show you that as we go through it. So let's look at it. So the first part says, my early exposure to computers, math problems, and puzzles was as a result of my father being an engineer. So by talking about that and just giving them that background, it shows where my love for engineering came from, and it gives them a bit of an insight to the type of person I am. Remember what I said earlier, that your personal statement is a way for them to see how you think, to tell your story, to explain your journey, why you are the way you are at the moment. That's what your personal statement helps to do. So this is me letting them see that, hey, this is where this thing came from. It didn't just come out of nowhere, or I wasn't just forced into it. I think it was something that bloomed from a particular point and has kept me going even till now. This led me to pursue a degree in petroleum and gas engineering, right? And so that shows a decision I made as a result of my early exposure to computers and all of that. So it's just important to start with your why. So like I said, this is the PTDF statement and the structure is a bit different, but I just wanted to give you that general guide to crafting personal statements so that people can see. But overall, I'm showing you that I'm telling a story as well. So I'm letting them see, hey, this is what happened to me when I was younger, and this then caused me to take on this role. So that gives them insight to your why. The next part of the part, so remember the requirements of PTDF statement, not more than 500 words, why you want to study what you want to study. So I'm talking about why now. So look at this. It says, now I am applying for the PTDF scholarship to further my studies. And in that paragraph, I'm explaining why I want to study what I want to study. And the way this is going, I'm giving them direct pointers to why I want to do what I want to do. So I'm saying now I'm applying for the PTDF scholarship to further my studies. And then I talk more. Of course, like I said, like you don't have to write it verbatim or anything, but hey, it's very direct. People get to see why. And anyone that's trying to read through the statement, knowing what they expected, I'm giving them guides and I'm making them see that I'm actually answering the questions. The next part says, I believe that my proposed study is of great relevance to both the industry and Nigeria's national development. So at this point, I'm giving them another prompt that, hey, like if you're following the story, I've shown you why I want to do what I want to do. I'm showing you why I got into this in the first place, why I want to do what I want to do, how it is relevant to the industry. So I'm answering the questions that they asked, right? So whatever answer you're going to give, it has to be tailored to the questions that are asked. And so they're like, I believe my proposed study is of great relevance to both the industry and Nigeria's national development. So I'm addressing that requirement, the relevance of the course to the oil and gas industry. And I then went ahead to address some current challenges of the industry. So highlighting that, the industry is going through this, going through that. So I said there are declining oil prices and aging infrastructure. And I'm just showing the fact that the industry needs even more skilled professionals, and I'm one of them. or at least this course is going to make me to be even more skilled to help the industry do all it's supposed to. Yeah. And then a bit of my technical focus. So what I aim to get from that study, I aim to gain deeper understanding of XYZ. These are the things I intend to get from that place. Then I talk about my impact on national development and my values. So I added that because that's just who I am. So I'm like this, me learning this, it goes beyond just learning this course for learning's sake. I see myself being a part of helping other people. So I said my vision expands beyond personal advancement. I aspire to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of Nigeria's petroleum industry. So this is just where my head is at. I'm showing them that I'm forward thinking and all. So it shows not just what I'll do for myself, but the fact that I actually see myself contributing to the industry. And that answers their question and also just shows that I'm selfless, right? So, and then I gave it a nice conclusion, right? So that's my personal statement. It's not perfect. To be honest, none is, right? There's no perfect personal statement because in the end, it's your journey and you just have to tell it the way that you want to tell it. It's your story. And if you don't tell it the way you want to tell it, then you're going to miss out on lots of opportunities. Don't hold back. Because I feel like that's something I also struggled with a bit, where sometimes I'm just like, oh, am I not talking too much? Am I not talking too much? Am I not saying too much about myself, my life? But the truth is, that might be the only opportunity that these people have to interact with you as a person. And so it's your only shot. So give it your best. Give it your very best. Tell your story, right? And I think this is just an extra tip. I didn't exactly plan to say this in my script, but it'll be a good idea to maybe create a document somewhere and document the things that you've done at different points in your life, whether they're volunteer roles, career roles, or anything at all, internships, or just some significant events that you've done. Document them so that whenever you have to craft a personal statement that cuts across particular parts of your life, you have a place to draw inspiration from. All right, so you don't always have to think from scratch every single time. I think that it's something that would greatly help you as well. I started doing it and I think it significantly helped me with my applications for different things because I have a document that has my achievements, so it cuts across leadership, career roles, volunteer roles, impact, just things that I've done, and it just makes it easier to be able to draw from there. And whether it's update my CV for something or craft my personal statement as I would want to craft it. So that's just something else that I thought I would add. So I hope that this video helped you. I hope that it made you understand better how to approach personal statements in general. And I wish you the very best with all of your applications. I really don't know what's happening with PTDF scholarship, but hopefully it opens up. But if it doesn't, please apply for other stuff and give it your best. I wish you the very, very best. And this is me signing out. Do take care. Bye.